Aziz milletim, değerli milletvekili arkadaşlarım,
My nation and my Member of
sizlere
Parliament
kalbi
colleagues,
duygularımla, muhabbetle
I greet all of
selamlıyorum.
you with my most heartfelt sentiments,
2022 senesinin
and I hope
bu
that the
ilk
year
grup
20,
toplantımızda
this first
sizlerle
group
beraber
meeting of
olmaktan
the year
büyük bir memnuniyet
2022 will be
duyuyorum.
auspicious for us,
Yeni miladi
and I'm
yılımızda
very happy
ülkemiz,
to share
milletimiz
this
ve
occasion with
tüm
you,
insanlık
and
için
I hope that
hayırlara
the
vesile
new
olmasını
calendar
diliyorum.
year will be auspicious for our
Sözlerimin
country
hemen
as well
başında
as the rest of humanity.
Akçakale
And as I
sınırlarımızda
begin
bölücü
my
terör
remarks, I
örgütünün
commemorate the
işlediği
troops
patlayıcı
that we
sebebiyle
have lost at the
şehit
border
olan
town of Akçakale,
askerlerimize Allah'tan
who
rahmet,
have lost their lives
yakınlarına
to a
ve
mine
milletimize
laid by terror
başsağlığı
groups.
diliyorum.
And I wish
Şehitlerimizin
our
kanları
condolences, our
kalmadı.
nation's
Allah'ın
condolences
izniyle de kalmayacak.
to their family, and their blood
Ülkemize
will
yönelik
not go
terör
unavenged.
tehditlerini kaynağında kurutmaya
In order to,
devam edeceğiz.
we will continue attacking
Ne
the
Cüdi'de, ne Gabar'da,
terror
ne
against our
Tendürek'te,
country
ne
at their roots.
Besler'de,
At Cudi,
nerede
Tendürek, or Besler,
aklımıza
no
bir
matter
terör
where
bölgesi
there
geliyorsa,
is an
orada
area of terror,
bizler
there
Mehmetçiğimizle,
we are always
işe
present
donanmamızla,
with our
polisimizle,
soldiers, our gendarmerie, and our police
komşularımızla varız,
and
var olmaya
our
devam edeceğiz.
rangers, and will continue being there.
Yine elin bir trafik kazasında hayatını kaybeden
Again,
milli futbolcumuz
we have lost
Ahmet Çalık'a
a national football
Allah'tan
player,
rahmet,
Ahmet Çalık,
yakınlarına
who have lost
ve
his life
tüm
as a result of
yardımcımıza
a very tragic
başsağlığı
traffic
diliyorum.
accident. And I
Değerli
extend
arkadaşlar,
our
yeni
condolences
yılla
to the
birlikte
football
ülkemize ve
community and his
milletimize
family.
hizmetlerimizi
Together with the new year,
her
we
zeminde olduğu
continue
gibi
our services to the
meclis
country and the
çatısı
nation,
altında da
and
yoğun
under the
şekilde
roof of the
sürdüreceğimiz bir
parliament,
döneme
we are going to continue
geçtiğimiz
such
hafta
efforts very
stokçuluğa
intensely
ceza
as well.
artırımını da içeren
Last
bir
week,
kanun
we
değişikliği
have
paketi genel kurulda
introduced
malum
an amendment bill
kabul edilmiştir.
which included
Bu hafta
also
da
sanctioning
adili
stockpilers. And
ön
this
kurul
week,
desteği
we
verilebilmesi,
have
bireysel emeklilikte
introduced a law
devlet
which
katkısının
ensures treasury assurance to savings accounts and 30% state support to personal retail funds, and BOTAŞ amendments and additional price difference payment to Turkish lira contracts, as well as increasing the retirement wage limit to 2,500 lira, and decreasing exporters tax for institutions to 19%, and the increase in the first half for public institutions being 7.5% from the previous level of 5%. So in summary, we are keeping the promises that we have made to our nation one by one, thanks to many proposals of amendments, and these will hopefully be discussed at the parliament and will be ratified. In our efforts, in our commissions, we will continue our discussions as well, and with the Turkey model, we will make our country one of the top 10 economies of the world, and for this purpose, we continue our activities at every platform. Of course, there are those who don't understand what we do or how we do it or why we do it. They try to slander the Turkey's development in the past 2 decades. In order to understand, we should know the developments, and there are those who don't know about the past of the country or the current developments, so they rather make an effort through lies and slander in order to push our nation to more pessimism. Turkey initiated during the Ottoman Empire and continued during the initial years of the Republic an important attack of development, but unfortunately, under coup attempts and other impositions, Turkey's efforts for industrial development has been blocked. Our country and community was broken from its history and its culture and roots due to some conspiracies. Despite some of the investment and great work, and despite the reforms that have been prepared, they have not supported them, but rather tried to pour cement on them, and it is probably very clear who these groups are ruled or manipulated by. There are those who win as we lose, and those who laugh as we cry, and those are the very reason for such problems. And there have been people who try to block our path, and there were people who tried to bring our country to the level of prosperity that it deserved. And every time they made such positive attempts, they have been targeted. For instance, late Menderes ended up in the gallows, and Demirel or Erbakan or Türkeş, they have had important efforts to develop the country, but there were coups which blocked them, and Özal died unexpectedly. And AK Party has had 20 years of development, and its road has also been blocked by such evil groups. People tend to forget, as they say, and what we experience ourselves. If we forget what we experience, others will forget it as well. In the initial years of our power, we had to fight against tutelage in the judiciary, in the businesses, in the media, politics. They have tried to put obstacles on our path, as we can remember as clearly as it was yesterday. If we talk about this to the current youth, they would find it as a history, but we have experienced all such incidents. In the international arena, without any rules and without ethics, there have been traps prepared for our country to corner us. For instance, with the Gezi Park incidents and FETÖ conspiracies, an important plan was initiated, and this was trying to attack our country. In some countries, these attacks reached success, and it caused communities to suffer and the states to collapse, but we were able to defy such plans with the support of the nation. There have been attempts of political and social chaos. PKK to Daesh, different terror groups were used in order to attack our borders and our cities, and coup attempts were planned through the FETÖ terror group, as well as demonstrations of power and diplomatic plans. We have overcome all of those plans, and as we protected our future together with our nation, and as we kept the flag high, and as we did not surrender or deviate from our plans, we were targeted by ever increasing attacks. In the past 3 to 4 years, we have experienced imbalances in our economy. The reason is that financial instruments were used as part of these attacks. So let's look back and what has happened in our economy in the past few years. We see the following picture. Turkey has suffered the 15th of July coup attempt, but it was defied with the glorious defiance of our nation. Western countries did not even feel the need to hide their intentions. One of them is a NATO ally, and they have used the differences of approach by direct threats of destroying our economy, void of any diplomatic or ethical kindness. Some European countries, on the other hand, have demonstrated the same approach in a more indirect way and through more sophisticated methods. Certain countries of the region, which are guided by the West, have been employed in order to further deepen this complex picture. In defense industry products and in some commercial items, closed embargoes have been employed against our country, but now, recently, financial tools are being used for the same purpose. As we did in the attacks, in the face of the attacks in the past, we took our measures in order to strengthen our weaknesses and to compensate for our deficiencies in order to be stronger. From abroad, there could be manipulations in order to cause imbalances in our economy. This was not in line with free market economy rules, and as we started correcting the picture, the coronavirus pandemic emerged. Developed countries and many other states had confusions in the face of this health crisis, and they had difficulties in offering sufficient services to their citizens. But Turkey employed very timely and effective measures and was able to protect itself. With our city hospitals and other health institutions, and with our strength in manufacturing, medical equipment and masks, and with our approach that prioritizes employment and production, we have had a very successful management of the pandemic. Again, during this time period, we have used the quick decision-making opportunities presented to us by the executive presidential system. Of course, the pandemic affected the balances of the global financial system, which were initially affected by the 2008 crisis. In production, logistics, and energy industries, there have been problems, and it affected the prices of commodities, and inflation increased because of financial expansion, and many such problems emerged. Developed countries have observed inflation which increased fivefold or sevenfold. In such countries, consumer price inflation increased by 20% or 30%, which were unprecedented levels. In our country, of course, there is the problem of inflation as well. And in fact, in addition to inflation, Turkey has suffered another hurting problem, like the fluctuation in the exchange rate. But despite this, the inflation increase in our country has been less than other countries comparatively. Both in the exchange rate and in inflation, it is clear that there is a bubble which does not fit to the realities of our economy. Hopefully, as soon as possible, this problem will be eliminated so that our nation will not be victimized by price hikes. On the other hand, the minimum wage has been increased by 50%, and for the first half of the year, retired and public official wages have also been increased, and the minimum payment for retirees have been increased to 2,500 liras, so that no segment of our society can be victimized by increasing inflation. Next July, depending on the inflation and the conditions, we can take a new look at the current conditions of public employees. In order to protect our nation against price increases, we have started taking measures in every area. For instance, the increase limit at private schools have been limited by 36%, which is the level of official inflation. Mr. Kemal, on the other hand, is making claims about this topic, but what are you talking about? It is our job, and we have already achieved it, but you are late in following developments. Our Ministry of Trade has audited 100,000 products all over the country. At every issue that doesn't have harmony with supply and demand ratio, we are using our legal means. As we produce, work, and grow, hopefully the problems that we face will shrink and they will lose significance and they will be simplified. And we will witness this all together. The exports
500
of
milyar
our
dolara
country
çıkarma hedefini
will be raised to $500 billion. And we first announced this target. There were those who were trying to make fun of this target in their own way, and we have already reached this target halfway. And despite this, the focus of the Turkish economy is employment and production, but they are trying to distract us from that into the inflation and exchange rate, and we ask them to raise their heads and to look at the rest of the world.
politika faizleriyle
With
enflasyon arasındaki
policy,
farkın 10 katını
the policy
geçtiğini
interest rate and
söylemiş
inflation
kimse
difference
bu
has
durumu
surpassed
sorgulamıyor.
tenfold in many countries, but nobody is questioning that situation in those countries, and opposition parties are not talking about doomsday scenarios. The relation in this relation is only made in our country. Food prices, rents, energy, and transport. In every area, there is increase in prices in the world, and the publics in those countries are following developments in full calmness. But in our country, there are those who are trying to make political gains from the suffering of their own country. They are increasing the level of their lies and their slander in order to cause more unrest. And we do not focus on what they say, but we rather do what is required by our own strategies. Our priority is to increase employment and to ensure the subsistence of our nation and to realize our targets one by one. All measures that will be taken in developed countries are also targeting to protect the levels of employment. With social security support, they try to keep their communities going, at least temporarily. But during the pandemic, we have created 2.7 million additional jobs, and we have increased this. We have achieved this. We do not give in to any threats or any imposition that tries to distract us from this target. As the pandemic decreases its influence, there will be changes in the global trade, and we see that developed countries, many developed countries, are on the negative side of the picture, and developing countries, including Turkey, are on the positive side of this picture. The number of employment has been raised to 30 million, which means employment, production, exports, and current surplus will be used in our new strategy to grow our economy. And this strategy is working. We will not go back from this target, but we will continue marching very decisively to our objectives. So far, we did not only produce discourse, but we always appeared in front of the nation with our solid steps. And next summer, hopefully, we will start seeing the positive outcomes of this approach. And when that happens, in 2023, which is the centennial of our republic, will be a historic turning point for our country, and it will be a whole year of celebration. In every area, there will be big investments and infrastructure, monuments and services in our country as we did in the past, and in economy we will make our country part of the top league. Just like we have solved every problem for this nation, hopefully we will also achieve the dream of a prosperous future, because we are the AK Party. Because we are the party of the nation.
Değerli kardeşlerim,
And
son dönemde
my brothers
yaşanan
and
tüm
sisters,
hadiseler
there have been some
Türkiye'nin en büyük
incidents
sorunu muhalefet
recently
tespitini tekrar
show us once again the fact that the top problem of this country is its opposition.
ne işe yarar?
What does the opposition do? What is its function in a democracy or in a country? The function of the opposition should be to have the vision to find solutions to the problems or to the issues of the public, to develop programs and projects. But what about the Republican People's Party? In so many years of opposition, have they put forth any vision?
CHP'nin ülkenin herhangi bir meselesinin
Have they
katkı
offered
sağladığını,
any contribution to the solution of any problem of the country? Have they offered any alternatives?
CHP'nin milletin
Nobody
içine
has
herhangi
heard
bir
of this.
derdine
Have
derman
they
olacak, yüzünü
offered
güldürecek bir açılım
any
ortaya koyduğunu
initiative to
duyan,
bring more
bilen var
joy
mı?
to the faces of our public?
Peki,
It is unheard of. So, what function does this CHP fulfill? The answer is evident in the person who is leading the CHP party. The leader of CHP
artık zırvalık
has been
derecesine
following
ötesine
for
geçti.
many years
Hezeyan şeklini
a strategy of lies
iftira
and
ve
slander
çarpıtma siyasetiyle
and distortion.
milletimizin
And with
eğlencesi
such
haline
politics, he has become
Anlaşılan
a laughing
ülkede
stock
komedyen
of
eşli
our
parti,
nation.
CHP'nin başındaki
There
zat,
must be a
parayı
lack of
doldurmak
comedians
için
in
gücüyle
our country
çalışıyor.
because the head of CHP is working with everything he's got to fill that position.
Ana muhalefet makamı milleti eğlendirme değil.
The position of main opposition is not a position to amuse the nation but rather offer solutions for the nation. Kılıçdaroğlu has no such issue. He is trying to have fun and we should make some contribution to him putting into practice his ideas. As you know, in recent weeks he has gone to Şanlıurfa and made many claims, and he has claimed that if the municipality shifts to CHP, free electricity would be offered to farmers. Before the elections, he has done the same in many municipalities, and he has promised not to lay off anyone and to bring subways everywhere and to make water and power cheaper for households and to offer free milk for children. He has made such promises, so if the CHP leader has such a dream, if he has such an original project, so we should look at the places, we should help him in the places where the municipality is at CHP. I have given the instruction, if there is a CHP municipality anywhere, there to offer free power to farmers, and for all the other promises in the list, such steps will be taken. CHP municipalities, maybe it's because they're too busy or maybe they're not able to bring such proposals to the agenda of the municipality. For that reason, our colleagues will take up that burden on their behalf in the municipal councils.
Maksat Kılıçdaroğlu'nun sözünü yerde bırakmıyor.
Our goal is that Kılıçdaroğlu will be able to fulfill his promise.
CHP Genel Başkanı'nı kendi tabanı ve millet nezdinde mahcup etmiyor.
We should not
Gerçi
abandon
arkadaşlarımızın
him
daha ilk başladığı yerde
in front of our nation.
belediye başkanı bu duruma isyan edip
At our first attempt, the
sorun gibi bir
mayor, the CHP mayor of the municipality, said they should make such claims from the head of CHP, which means he is unaware of the promises made by his own political party.
örneği uygulamaları sebebiyle
Because of the single party fascism practices, a mayor was fined, and the way he talks about his own political party shows us that issues are more complicated than they appear. And let us make another reminder to Kılıçdaroğlu. in the public squares, you have made claims that nobody would be dismissed from their jobs in municipalities, and he made a promise of honor in public squares, but this was breached by his own mayors. In many municipalities which have shifted to CHP after the last elections, tens of thousands of people have already been dismissed. We have made increases to the minimum wage of workers, but the staff at CHP municipalities are unable to get a same level of increase in their salaries, and they are furious at their mayors now. Kılıçdaroğlu, if he has bright ideas to apply in this matter, if he is unable to control his own mayors, our colleagues in the parliament would be happy to assist him.
Değerli arkadaşlar, karşımızda işte böylesine
We have such
ağzından çıkan sözden haber.
an opposition who's unaware of their own promises, and when they are presented with facts, they do not react, they do not respond to the needs or expectations of the nation. We have such an opposition typology in front of us. Turkey can beat inflation and the exchange rate. Turkey can increase its growth and it can challenge the whole world. But how can we solve the problem of the opposition? That I do not know. If you ask them, they want to govern the country, but they do not even have a name that they will do this with. They don't have a program or a vision. But they claim that under his leadership, in 2023 elections, they will form an alliance against the nation's alliance, the People's Alliance, but they do not agree on who the candidates will be. There is a fight for candidacy within CHP, and soon I will not be surprised to see them in court suing ourselves over the candidacy. Within the party, there are new scandals of rape, harassment, thefts, and unethical behavior which are never addressed within the party. So we are here with a CHP which fails in every front. Every incident that occurs shows once again their fascist real face, which they hide behind masks and their oppressionist policies. Mr. Kemal is threatening public officials, but when it comes to the political extensions of the divisive terror group, they do the opposite. Their co-chair is continuing its slanders against CHP and CHP mayors, but they're unable to react. They are called the dogs of Mustafa Kemal, but CHP is still trying to defend those who make such profanity. Atatürk's political party has become a servant of the Kandil Mountain. Even if they do not want to see or acknowledge this fact, they create tension in the nation, polarize the community in Turkish politics, but they have now come to an end. Our nation does not believe them, and so Mr. Kemal continues losing his balance. They have finished all of their means in politics, and in order to hide this fact every day, they cause another scandal. They do not know what they say and what they do, and it is even they themselves don't know how much their failure will continue. And they have current deficit in politics, and they try to cover for that deficit with defamation. The head of the group has made some scandalous claims about our children learning more about their own culture and religion. Another deputy of Mr. Kemal has done something similar recently. He is unaware of the sensitivities and the values of the nation, and he has equated FETÖ with Allah, and he has demonstrated once again what kind of a dirty and sick mentality that he has.
Bırakın artık dinimizi istismar etmeyi. Dürüst olun, dürüst.
They should put aside abusing our religion and they should be honest. There is no point in making claims as you wish. What you say or what you try to do does not work anymore. They do not work anymore. And one of your partners, I won't mention his name, she has been pictured holding hands with a member of a terror group, and photos have emerged. For many days, these pictures, these photos we have all seen, and you have all seen. Unfortunately, this woman is in the parliament, but she is an extension of the PKK terror group. Very swiftly, we have raised this issue to the Mixed Commission. At the Mixed Commission, what is necessary will be done. In our parliament, we don't want to see such persons. We don't want to see extensions of the PKK terror group in our parliament. The People's Alliance has said everything that was necessary, but Mr. Kemal, why are you silent? Why are you keeping silent? Or HDP, why are you keeping silent about this? Have they said anything? Have they made any remarks? No, because it doesn't suit their agendas. Others, no need to mention them. They didn't say anything either. Whether they say anything about this topic or not, we will continue fulfilling our duty. But all of our deputies, our whole organization, we will mention this to our nation. We will explain this to our nation, because a parliament which consists of such terrorists cannot be a democratic parliament. And for that reason, we have to make democracy prevail within our parliament. Put aside any religious training. Anyone who has lived in this country would know that using the name of the Creator this way is not accepted in our religion. The late poet Mehmet Akif has talked about such people who lack any personality in the past.
Edepten yok payesi, bir kızarmaz yüz, bir yaşarmaz göz, bütün sermayesi. Yine Akif diyor ya, dinime küfreden, dinime söven.
So as he said, even though they make slanders, they try to insult our religion, they're not Muslims themselves. They don't have such agendas, they lack any ethics, and their lack of ethics and their ignorance is the only capital that they have. And let's see a brief video about such topics in order to refresh our memories.
Diyanet okul öncesi eğitim kurumları kuruyor. Eğitim birimi kuruyor. Okul öncesi eğitim birimi. Bir ortaçağ zihniyetine yönelmenin, bunu kurumsallaştırmaya çalışmanın.
Aslında ben türban kelimesini kullanmayı da kendime yediremiyorum. Onu zaten ben hep yıllardır çul derim. Yani benim
Evet,
için
evet.
bir çuldur o. Fakat tabii ki
Bir metrekarelik bez parçası.
bez parçasıdır, evet.
Okullarda başörtülü öğrencilerimiz var,
Var,
kamuda
tabii.
çalışanlar var.
Var.
Bu neden? Mesela ben şunu beklerdim. Keşke bu sorunu CHP çözseydi.
Ben çözdüm.
Ve İslam dünyasında yaşanan dram, İslam dünyasından kaynaklanan terör bütün dünyada farklı yorumlara yol açtı.
Takmaz ya. Niye türban takıyorsun diye bir şikayeti oldu mu bugüne kadar?
Hayır, niye türbanla okula giriyorsun diye şikayet var.
Şimdi bakın devletin kuralları var, söyledim ben size.
Cumhuriyet Halk Partisi'nin türbanlı milletvekili adayı olmayacak ve gündeminde de böyle bir şey yok.
Biz Allah'tan değil, hukuktan ve bu ülkenin elden gitmesinden korkuyoruz.
Ayasofya'dan müze olarak korunmalı, hatta Sultanahmet'te müze olmalı.
Haydi Çocuklar Camiye etkinliği CHP'nin Manisa Milletvekili Bekir Başevirgen'i rahatsız etti.
Etkinlik adı altında ideoloji empoze edilmesi, çocukların düşünce, vicdan ve din özgürlüğünü ihlal edilmesi demektir.
Ben daha net bir şey söyleyeyim, lafı dolandırmaya gerek yok. Kamuda türban toplumu böler.
Camide tesbih çekerken bile, bak samimiyetimle söylüyorum, haneleri çekerken bile euro, dolar, euro, dolar diye çekmiyorlarsa ben de Atilla Sertel değilim. İnan ki bak.
Ne kadar gevşek değil mi? CHP bu.
This is what CHP is, lacking any seriousness.
Kendileri çalıp kendileri oynuyorlar. Yaptıkları bu.
There is no one listening to them. They talk and listen themselves, and this CHP is
Evet, maalesef söylüyor.
unfortunately insulting our religion.
Bunları CHP'ye gönül veren kardeşlerimiz savunuyorlar.
And our brothers and sisters who like CHP, they're still defending these things, but see the reality, see the truth. We don't
Sizlere delilleriyle bunları
talk
ispatlayın.
behind closed doors. We
CHP
prove with
dün de buydu,
solid evidence. This is what CHP was in the past and what it is presently. And if they go with the same mentality, this is what they will be in the future as well. And other elements of their alliance is no different. One wing of their alliance is the political party which is ruled by the terror group, and in order to know how they will act, they listen to the messages or the permits that will come from the terror mountain. And let's refresh our memories on that topic as well.
Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri'nin operasyonunda bir PKK'lı terörist öldürülmüştü. Adı Volkan Bora.
Güvenlik güçleri cep telefonunu inceledi, o skandal fotoğraflara ulaştı.
Fotoğraftaki kişi HDP Diyarbakır Milletvekili Semra Güzel.
Teröristle beraber poz veren kişi HDP Diyarbakır Milletvekili Semra Güzel'di.
PKK'lı teröriste samimi fotoğrafları çıkan
HDP'li vekilin dağda eli kanlı.
PKK'lı teröristle fotoğrafları ortaya çıkan HDP'li Semra Güzel.
PKK'lı bir teröristle fotoğraflarının
Semra Güzel'in etkisiz hale getirilen
terörist Volkan Bora'nın çekilen fotoğraflarını görebiliyorlar.
CHP Genel Merkezi'ni ziyaret ettik. Bunlar ne diyorlar? Bizi destekleyin ama kimse görmesin.
HDP'yi meşru organ olarak görebiliriz. Parlamentoda olması çok önemli.
yasamada başkan vekilliği yapan bir insan niye bakanlık yapmasın yani?
HDP'nin neden bakan olmasın?
Bir iki bakan vaat edilebilir, yani ikinci tur için söylüyorum.
Biz sırtımızı YPG'ye, PYD'ye yaslıyoruz. Yaslamaya devam edeceğiz.
YPG'yi nasıl desteklediğini biliyoruz. Dolayısıyla
Yani onlar bize mi saldıracaklar? Hayır efendim. Biz YPG'yi terör örgütü olarak görmeyiz.
Bak HDP konusu ilk günden beri diyorum. Görüşülmesi gerekiyordu. Terör örgütü değil midir? Değil. Benim gözümde.
Bizim sınırımızda başkası olacağını PYD olsun. Bizim hiçbir sakıncası yok mu?
İyi Parti Genel Başkanı Sayın Meral Akşener, Cumhuriyet Halk Partisi, Saadet Partisi ve HDP'lilerle birlikte 4 ay boyunca bir anayasa hazırlığı içerisinde olmuştur.
Seçimi kazanmak için, terör örgütünün arkasından gitmeyin.
Meral Akşener o şeyi çoktan verdi.
Meral Akşener'in çağrısı üzerine bir ittifak kuruldu.
Senin HDP'yle ne işin var ya?
İyi Parti size söylüyorum. HDP ve PKK içinde gönül vermişlerin de olduğu insanlar size oy verdi. HDP'nin oylarıyla koltuklarda oturacaksınız.
Bu memlekette birlik olursun, HDP olmasın. Siz HDP ile bir oldunuz bakın. Siz HDP ile bir oldunuz.
Evet.
Haksız yere içeride tutulan Demirtaş ve Kavala var.
Şimdi Demirtaş efendim sokağa çağırdı. Yine ortalığı kana bulayacak. Tekrar çağırıyor.
Benim vicdanım kabul etmiyor. Onların zaten hapiste tutulmaları yanlış.
CHP'den seçilmiş insanlar dikkatli durmalılar.
Biz orada niye duruyoruz? PKK mı var mı? PKK da yok. Niye orada duruyoruz?
Herkes biliyor ki Kandil'de PKK unsurları kalmamıştır.
CHP hayırlı bir iş yapmıştır. İyi bir adım atmışlardır. PKK yanlısı ilan ediliriz diyerek hep savaş tezkeresine oy veriyorlardı. Şimdi bunu göz alarak hayır dediler.
Selahattin Bey, o da her seferinde beraat ediyor. Her seferinde yeni bir dosyadan, her seferinde yeniden tutuklanıyor. Sanıyorlar ki bunlar efendim biz ettik siz etmeyin falan diyecekler. Niye desinler ya, bunlar suçlu değil ki.
Selahattin Demirtaş'ın tahliyesini istiyorsunuz. Selahattin Demirtaş bizim çocuklarımızı dağa götüren ve aracılık yapan bizzat Selahattin Demirtaş'tır.
Bu tür iddialar aslında Selahattin Demirtaş Bey'i alacak, göğsüne şeref madalyası olarak takacaktır yani.
Al işte. Buyur. Bunların göğsündeki şeref madalyası,
as you can see,
o dağa kaçırdıkları
they talk about a Medal of Honor, but they're talking about the young children that they have kidnapped to the mountain. This is the conscience that they have. But unfortunately,
en büyük hesabı İmralı'dakine verecek.
the one in Edirne will have to account to the one in İmralı. He believes that everything is clear. The picture is positive, but no, they are fighting among themselves as well, and they will do that.
Elinde silahı olan
And
teröristini kaptıran siyasetçi,
politicians like Mr. Kemal, who have lost their control to weapon holding terrorists, or politicians means they have abandoned politics, but they have chosen blood and terror instead. From young babies to the elderly, or mothers who have raised their children, or shepherds, or teachers, or clergymen. They have the blood of different groups of people on their hands, and these people who are guided by such terrorists cannot be politicians.
Dünyanın hiçbir yerinde böyle bir siyasete,
in no part of the world, such politicians or such a group of politicians would be tolerated. This has nothing to do with rights or democracy or freedoms or any other concept which has anything to do with such ideas. This is rather being backed by terror, or it's about standing against terror, and the rest is just details. And the other wing is the so-called Nationalist Party, which is insulting families of martyrs and is attacking their opposers. They work with terror groups, and this is an alliance which is pierced by so many problems, and this political party, by choosing to be in such an alliance, would ultimately face an identity crisis if they continue on this path. By rejecting themselves and their history, they try to be part of this alliance and try to gain the favors of this alliance. And we watch with sorrow their situation. And may God give them more reason, and there is nothing else that we find necessary to say. This reminds us the following famous story. During the Ottoman era, in a remote neighborhood of Istanbul, there was a person called Bekri Mustafa who spent all of his nights at different pubs, and he was going past this smaller Ayasofya museum. There was a funeral ceremony, but there was no one to lead the funeral, so the residents of the neighborhood were waiting for a long time. They saw Bekri Mustafa in traditional religious clothing.
Bekri Mustafa ben hoca değilim dese de zorla öne geçirip namaza başlatırlar. Namazın ardından Bekri Mustafa
So Bekri Mustafa opened the coffin and he whispered something to the ear of the dead, and then he turned back to the congregation and told them to go and bury the dead. Someone came up to him and asked what he whispered to the ear of the dead, and he responded as follows. I told him, when you go to the afterlife, if they ask you about the situation that the world is in, you can say that even Bekri Mustafa has become an imam for Ayasofya, and they will understand.
Evet, ülkemizdeki muhalefetin durumunu anlatmaya da
So when it comes to understanding the situation of the opposition party and the CHP led by Kılıçdaroğlu and PKK on one wing of the alliance and the so-called nationalists on the other wing of the alliance, their joint picture is enough to understand their situation.
Türk demokrasisini böyle bir zillete düçar edenlere yazıklar olsun. Değerli kardeşlerim.
Turkish politics does not deserve such a picture. Our top priority for our nation is to save our nation from such a Frankenstein alliance. Otherwise, our children or our history would not forgive us. In such historic crossroads, we cannot allow the previous days of chaos or unrest to return to our nation. This would be the worst fate that our nation would face. And terror groups are waiting for such a situation to happen in our country. Just like other examples around it, they want to divide and collapse our country, and they're waiting anxiously for such a climate. They want to eliminate the winnings of our nation and to condemn our people back to poverty and lack of any means, and they are waiting to seize the opportunity to make this possible. But with God's help, we are not going to allow any of them, and we are going to continue for our target of becoming a big and strong Turkey. With our own organization and our government, we will all work harder in our own areas and make more efforts. We will reach every single person, and we will give the message of what we have achieved and will achieve in the future. We will explain to them our targets and our vision and get their support at the election polls. In the past, Turkey was only able to produce basic textile, but now we are racing in space. In the past, in some central districts of Ankara, regular citizens were not allowed in, and people's values or beliefs were overlooked. But now we have expanded rights and freedoms and established the dominance of the nation's will. The Social Securities institution was led by CHP in the past, and in the hospitals of that institution, people were unable to claim their debt because they owed to the hospital. But now we have a Turkey which is excelling in all health services. In the past, to fight against terror, we used to lose our children to terror. But now we are admired by the whole world in our defense industry tools which we are able to manufacture ourselves. We have made this progress. In the past, we were unable to give parents were unable to provide education for their children. But now, from preschool all the way to PhD, they are able to give education to their children thanks to the new Turkey's education system. In the past, to travel from one city to another, there were different obstacles and challenges, but now we have built divided roads, highways, bridges and tunnels and rail lines and airlines to all corners of the country to travel more rapidly and more comfortably. In the past, we were able to produce only our own food in our farming and stock breeding, but now with our irrigation and the land management and mechanization, we have commercialized our production. We have built new projects for our country, and we have expanded the vision of our nation. And the list is so long that we cannot go over it one by one. For that reason, everywhere we go and on every opportunity, we will talk about how we have solved every problem of the country coming from the past, how we can solve current problems, and how we can realize the hopes for the future. There are those who try to cause unrest at the streets, those who call foreign powers, those who try to ignite problems, and we will not abandon politics to them. So, in short, in the past 20 years, with what we have made possible, we will reach our vision for 2023 and 53. We will enter every street and every building, and we will convince everyone, and there is no other way out for us. And with such thoughts, once again, I greet all of you and be well.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımıza Grup Genel Kurul konuşmalarından dolayı teşekkür ediyoruz. Sayın milletvekillerimiz, grup toplantımız burada sona ermiştir. Genel kurulumuz bugün saat 14'te 301 sıra sayılı kanunun madde görüşmeleriyle devam edecektir. 14'te genel kurulda hazır olmanızı istirham ediyoruz. Sağ olun, var olun.